and put them together, and when they did that, all those factors added up, dropped the wage gap by 29%. So there was a 4 to 7% gap.
So yeah, it's really just about finding the reasons for it, I guess.
Based on your research, when does the wage gap equal out? I'm familiar with the study you just cited. So how long, what year will the wage gap equal out?
Is it 2069, 2068? I read it.
Yeah, 2059.
I thought it was
It's 2058.
Yeah, somewhere in there. So how many years is that from now to get it just to
38.
equal based on this calculation? No, I'm just saying a lot of years.
Yeah.
That's how.
Picture.
What about on the sports end of things? You got professional female athletes, you got professional male athletes. Look at our female soccer players; they've had more success on that internationally than our male soccer players. But yet the pay discrepancy is huge.
Yes.
Explain some of that, and should it be changed?
So really, it's just like, it's back to the open market thing. I mean, personally speaking, from my own beliefs, I don't think that the government or anybody should really determine what people get paid other than the open market. If people want to watch men more than they want to watch women, then so be it. That's the way things are. It's not anybody's fault. The men shouldn't be punished for that. And it just so happens that male basketball players get paid more because they're watched more. It's pretty simple.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that. So let's say male sports are being watched more. There's also female counterparts to that. Like, let's say, just for example, like the Miss America pageant. Should we have a Mr. America pageant? If we really want to be equal?
I did not see that coming. Ben, I'm very rarely surprised in these things. You've surprised me.
I think you bring up a good point. The open market kind of dictates things when it comes to sports. Clearly, there's more advertising dollars. It's driven by who's watching it. But say you have two neurosurgeons. I don't know, Drew, what do you want to be when you...
I'm going into engineering school.
Engineering school. So say you and Bethany are going to engineering school. You get the exact same education. Everything is equal coming out. Is it right, based on gender, for her to start out making less money based on everything else being equal, going into the same job that you would be going into?
So if this is the hypothetical that we're going into the exact same job?
Everything the exact same. You're doing the exact same job. You have the exact same education.
Yeah, I'd say absolutely not. 'Cause if you're the same, if you're just as qualified, have the same education, all that, you should get paid the same.
Well, that is 100%. We should be paid the same, for sure. But I'm gonna have my own little hypothetical. Say two lawyers. It does not matter the gender. They have the exact same qualifications, exact same education, are working the same hours. Well, if I'm a business person and I have one lawyer that's on call and the other one doesn't want to be on call because they want to be off on the weekends, the person who's on call or willing to come in at any given time is going to get the promotion, or the one who puts in, so whoever's ready to be available. So if a lawyer is available, then they're going to get paid more, get a promotion if they're working harder.
So I guess the suggestion goes back to that you think that if there's, well, let me rephrase this. In the hiring process, you think that if there's something that differentiates them, which would make sense, that one should get paid over the other. Law is probably not the best one to use because they bill by hour, so most lawyers are going to work as much as they can. But I'm not following your reasoning. You're saying, are you suggesting that if two males are going to be lawyers and one is willing to be on call or just say bill more hours over a weekend, that they should be compensated more?
I'm not saying that they should be compensated more. I'm saying that there's a promotion that comes up. I could probably say that because they've been more reliable, they will probably get the promotion over that other person.
Yeah, well, but my question wasn't about promotions. It was about your starting salary entering at the same time with all things being equal.
Okay, so have you found basically a study that does prove that there is a difference between men and women at the very initial starting
No, I'm
salaries?
asking you all
Okay,
that.
so
That was my question to you. Have you found a study?
I would respond that there is very little difference between them, to be quite honest, at the very beginning.
So let's diverge from that just a little bit. So Drew and Bethany, Bethany, Drew, okay. So you and Bethany are going to be engineers.
Yeah.
And I'm looking to hire an engineer in a high demand market. We're always working. We've got some large projects that we're constantly on. Am I more or less likely to hire you, Drew, or Bethany, based on equal qualifications?
So you're asking if we have the same qualifications, who you're more likely to hire?
Absolutely.
Whoever has a better resume or better
You have the
interview.
same qual. He's saying, so
Yeah, we have the
What-
same
what I'd like to
resume,
say-
but whoever's better interview, you like.
it's just whoever you pick. It's kind of like a 50-50 if you're
Okay.
equally qualified and all that.
Sex has a little to do with that decision.
And explain that to me, Drew.
It's, if you look at most of the evidence, well, okay. I mean, to be quite honest, I don't have a whole lot to explain about that, other
Okay.
than before, honestly, the separation sort of begins later on in life
Okay.
as more things develop, like fraternity and stuff like that. So in the very beginning, there's not going to be a huge difference in between two people with the exact same qualifications.
Okay. At the
There's-
beginning, there's not a difference in those two candidates.
Yes.
But I, as an employer, am I more likely to hire one of those candidates over the other one based on some general assumptions?
I do not have the statistics for that.
Okay.
I promise.
Anybody else want to take a crack at this?
It's not in my notes, but
Okay.
from the research that
I like it when it's not in your notes.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
but from the research that I read yesterday, no, there's not a difference. There was a survey of women and men, and they talked about, and 6% of women said that they didn't get hired for a job,
Okay.
and only 4% of men said they didn't get hired for the job because of their gender.
Okay.
So there was that 2% difference, but I don't really know how you measure that you didn't get the job because of your gender.
Because of their gender, is that because they're not the same physical description of each other? That's
I
because
mean,
they.
if you're someone doing physical labor and you can be more productive because you're
Okay.
stronger, I mean,
Okay. So,
but I think that it's
so
gender
it could be a
should not.
physiology thing?
Yeah, it could be, but gender should not be a role in hiring somebody.
Should not, I agree with you, but I'm talking in the real world. Ben, am I
Yeah.
more or less likely to hire Drew over Bethany with equal qualifications if I have a high demand field that I need somebody available all the time? And I'm not the nice guy that I am.
So if you
I'm a
have
qualified.
pre-made dispositions about sex, how Drew might be more available than you might.
Okay.
But that's just dependent on the employer.
So some social preconceptions could play into my decision making.
Yeah,
then.
But let me back up, and I don't know if Andrew and Ben will remember this. Is there a law that deals with that?
There it is. Yes, I mean, technically speaking, if two candidates have the exact same qualifications, you cannot hire one just because they're a man or a
They
woman.
can
None
all-
of us here, sorry. No, but, okay, just to go ahead and speak for us, none of us here have the exact statistics that you're asking for.
Absolutely.
to
And I'm not
prove
asking for
that.
statistics.
Okay, but yeah, so we cannot prove either way if you're going to hire one or the other. Legally speaking, you're not supposed to at all.
Okay.
Legally speaking, so can I make a hiring decision on the fact that a female might at some point in the next 5 to 6 years show up pregnant one day and then she's not going to be reliable, and so I'm not going to hire her?
Yeah,
Can
no,
I
it's
ask
actually-
about her marriage plans? Can I ask about her plans for a family?
You cannot.
Can I make a hiring decision based on that?
No, you cannot ask, you cannot base the decision on sex. You cannot base it off of if they are young and possibly going to get pregnant or anything like that. It's very illegal to do so. So, yeah. That's pretty much all there is for that.
Now, and that's not to say it doesn't happen, but we
Yeah.
already have laws on the books
Yeah.
to deal with that. So I see where you stand on those, and you're saying, yes, there's a wage gap, but it's not based on discrimination. What is your answer to the women out there who are trying to push legislation and trying to push the government to get involved to close the wage gap? What would be your response to that?
I would just reference the free market. So let's say there's this job out there that a woman can get. If a company is going to offer them it for slightly cheaper, then it's only going to hurt the company if they hire more expensive labor that's the same like value. So I feel like the free market will just fix all those issues for us. Like, yeah,
So don't take the man or the woman, ship it off to China. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, under a truly free market, what Mr. Robinson said would be the case. You could not hire a woman because
Right.
of her future family plan.
Yeah.
But we have a law to deal with that. So, let me back up then. What do those who most active in the fight against the wage gap? What do they want government to do?
I mean,
Regulate.
honestly, yeah, it slightly confuses me because I think that the wage gap is based off of things that are completely fair, like factors that are mainly due to choices and stuff like that. So I think that they are still under the impression that it's largely due to discrimination. And if it was due to discrimination, then I would say that what they believe is that it would be fair for, I personally don't like it when the government gets involved, but it's at least a fair idea for them to think that, oh, it would be right for the government to try and close this gap because people don't like women as much. I don't think that's the issue at hand, personally, but it's pretty much that.
What other choices? You all mentioned maternity leave as being probably one of the major contributing factors, which then also plays into maybe the mother being more flexible with childcare, having to be the one to come home at 7 p.m. because childcare ends, or whatever with the female. But what other types of circumstances do you find drives the wage gap with females? If it's choices, truly choices, what other factors do you all have besides those?
Yeah, so for example, a position, like who wants to pursue a promotion or being a boss or being in a management position. There was a survey that they did in my research. They asked the question, would you want to pursue a higher paying job or a promotion job?
Yeah, it's literally just, are you interested in becoming a boss or a top manager? And 34% of women said that they were not interested in that at all. 24% of men said that they were not interested in that at all either. It's statistically significant difference.
I think, to answer your question too, I think for people who are not the best educated, you could also cite physical things, like it's pretty unlikely that a female is going to do a high-paying construction job. And I think there's a few situations like that you can say.
I work on an oil rig. It's extremely male dominated. It's like 97% men on an oil rig, which is an extremely dangerous job. So like another factor, 9 out of every 10 people that die in the workplace are men. So it's more dangerous. Some of those jobs are a lot more dangerous. So, I mean, I'd assume that they get paid a little bit more if they're working jobs that could be physically dangerous to themselves.
And those are fields that women are less likely to
Yes.
go
By
into.
choice.
So like coal mining,
Yes.
truck driving,
For sure.
factory work.
Yes.
But wouldn't you argue that teaching is more dangerous now than it ever has before?
The answer is yes. So yes.
Yes.
Which is a female-dominated field?
That is true.
Do you know what the average, because you were using medians, do you know what the average pay gap, wage gap is for men and women educators with the same amount of experience?
I do
in-
not.
It's almost $8,000 a year.
Really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't
Is that
speak a
including
whole lot on that.
principals and assistant principals?
Just teachers, yeah.
Yeah. Another,
Does
okay,
that
so-
take into account private and public?
That's public schools.
Okay.
Actually, private schools, and I don't know, but I would guess private schools could potentially be even worse than that.
Does that take into account how long teachers have worked there, their pensions?
Experience, yes.
Okay.
That's pay and other benefits,
Okay.
not just straight up salary.
I've seen a couple of things, but it cites around 20 different factors that really go into what separates the pay difference from men and women. And that can be anything from personality traits to job choice to maternity leave, stuff like that. It's a whole range of things. There's a lot that goes into it.
I was once aware of a school, even central Kentucky school, where a teacher or coach could go in and kind of negotiate what they needed salary-wise from one year to the next. What did you find out about research, or did you, if a female was to go in and say, hey, I need more money to help my family, are they as likely to go and negotiate, or is that door just flat closed at now and they don't even have the opportunity to negotiate?
Yeah, so this is sort of an interesting question that you ask. There's a personality trait that goes along with your question that deals with agreeableness, and women are generally more agreeable than men, and one of those things that has to do with like asking for pay raises and being more aggressive towards advancing their career. Now, I'm gonna try and present this as clearly as possible. It's a little bit difficult, but it's something like that. So I actually have the statistics somewhere, but it's like men are actually statistically more likely to go and ask for job pay raises like that and stuff. Women are slightly less likely to do so. So as you would say, yeah. So as you would say,
What was that?
It's 45% to 24%.
yeah.
45% men are more likely to go ask for promotion, 24%.
Promotion or pay raise? Because promotion doesn't
Pay
always
raise,
equal,
pay
okay.
raise.
Promotion doesn't always equal pay raise.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that would factor into the gap. But it's not the fault of either. It's not due to discrimination, it's based on that individual.
I'd also, you asked the question about other factors that go into the wage gap. I like to point out that women are 2 times more likely to work, like part-time. 26%, like of people working, 26% of women work part-time, only 13% of men work part-time. So when you add up and do the math and all that, men on average work 15% more hours per week than women. So that will bring into account the weekly earnings when you calculate the wage gap.
Through Mrs. Eiler mentioned earlier some of the laws that are on the books about equality in hiring. Again, if I'm an unscrupulous manager, which I'm not, in fact, I'm a really likable guy, but if I wasn't, and I was looking at a candidate like you and Bethany, I'm going to borrow you one more time, you and Bethany, and I thought, okay, I'm more likely to hire you based on some social understanding that I think you may be more available, or maybe Bethany has future family plans that may, and I hire you on that basis.
That is wrong.
What is the legal recourse? Because just having a law in the books doesn't necessarily mean it's going to equal everything out. What's
I mean,
Bethany's recourse?
One, she has to get a lawyer and then prove that you were being sexist.
Okay.
I think that's something that we can definitely work on, because that's going to be really, really hard to prove. That's going
That's
to
a high bar, isn't it?
Yes, it is a high bar. It's going to be very hard to prove. She's going to go against. She's going to have to pay a lot of money for a good lawyer, and then she's
Right.
going to be arguing against good lawyers.
So
So
she
I
has to
think
prove
that's-
my intent, right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
something that the government or policy could definitely be changed.
So she's got a tough hill to climb, because she's got to prove that I had an intent
Yeah.
purposely not to hire her because she's a woman over you.
Yes.
What other problem could she face, Ben? Bethany, I apologize for using you in all my
I'm
examples.
sorry I brought you up.
Mrs. Crosby brought you up though. Yes. What other problems could Bethany face if she's going to now sue because she feels like I hired Drew incorrectly over top of her?
Can I say something before we go on? I also think that it can be used vice versa. Say,
Okay.
I'm interviewing against, I'm not going to say Bethany, some girl,
Yeah.
and then I honestly...
Some girl that's not Bethany?
Yeah,
Okay.
I honestly get the job because I had a better interview,
Yes.
and we had the same qualifications, I just had a better interview and the guy liked me more, and then
Right.
she goes and says that he was being sexist, and he wasn't. I think that that's also very important to take into account, because then women can just, I don't want to say women, then people can just use the victim card.
Right.
And that's important to me, because I don't think that's fair on either cases, if it's true or if it's not.
I think that's a fantastic point, and I think you're correct on that. But I want to kind of get back to what I was asking before. So Bethany, somebody not Bethany, faces this legal challenge. They have to prove my intent. What other ramifications, negative ramifications, could come of her pursuing that to try to get legal justice under the law?
So there could be some, I think there was defamation or defamation.
Okay.
Like it could hurt her reputation, I guess.
There you go.
Financially. Those are the main two that I just think
So
of.
Andrew, could hurt her reputation. Let that out for me a little bit. So she sues me because she feels like I discriminated against her based on her gender and didn't hire her over Drew. We said it could hurt her reputation. Can you vet that out a little bit? Well, what's that reputation look like? What?
I mean, I can understand like where it would be coming from. I mean, obviously, if it's, I can see where other companies would be hesitant to employ someone that just immediately, or that they're worrying about is going to sue someone. I mean, I think that's a fair hesitation. But,
Okay. So she goes and applies to Coach Galloway's company now, and he goes, "Wait a minute, aren't you that lady who sued that other company
gonna hurt her
that wanted to hire you? Does he want to go anywhere near a candidate like that? Probably."
probably not.
So really, the cards would then be stacked against somebody in that situation, whether they were discriminated against or just felt like they were discriminated against.
It's very, yeah.
I want to follow up on, when you said that females were more agreeable, explain that because did you mean they're more agreeable to, like, when they go to negotiate, they're more agreeable, they'll accept what the